Welcome to another episode of the Mobility Bros. I'm your host, Ron Hilton, and here we go. I'm your host, Ron Hilton, and this is my guest, Trevor Hairston of Hairston Family Fitness. And the things we discuss, we talk about human mobility, athletic mindset, pain reduction and management, the thoughts and processes of practitioners, the mindset of our clients and our members, and we bring amazing insight and real stories from leading experts in the fitness and health and wellness industry. And I would like to give a shout out to our sponsors, Be Legendary Athletic Apparel, uh, Paul Perfect Supplies, where you get your online supplies if you're a pet lover, and also Fitness Essentials, where you get your best, where you can get your best fitness needs. Man, sometimes I be like stumbling over my words, man. And this is Trevor Hairston. We're gonna go over his brief bio, um, real quick, and just go a little bit about him. And before I even go on his bio, this is my brother from another mother, man. I've known this dude. Listen, I clearly still remember you being in a freaking crib, which is insane, on Michael Road, dude. Like the bedroom, your parents' bedroom was like coming in off to the left, and your brother's bedroom was off to the right. I don't even know how I remember all that at going on 50 years old, but I do remember, right? So,
Yep.
Trevor Harrison, with 20 years of experience in the health and fitness industry, he's passionate and dedicated professional who helps people achieve their physical and athletic goals. He's the owner of Harrison Family Fitness, a company that provides online and fitness, diet, and exercise programs for business professionals and youth athletes. He also is a fitness model and a physique pro who has won multiple competitions and Muscle Mania fitness events. As an ISA master trainer and nutritionist, he has the credentials and competence to design, deliver, and customize an effective solution for many clients. That is just a very vanilla covering of what Trevor's about. Trevor has been played semi-pro football, semi-pro basketball, has coached a professional basketball team. So I'm just gonna get in. How are you doing today, Trevs?
Thank you so much for inviting me here on the show. Excited to be here and share and be a part of helping people, get their health and fitness and mobility in track so that they can operate at a very high function. Doing great today. It's beautiful outside here in New England, in Connecticut. It's in the 70s. It's sunny. It's beautiful. Feels like it's about to be summer, but you never know. Being up here, it could be winter tomorrow.
I know, man, dude. Listen. If y'all don't know, man, Connecticut weather is mad shifty, dude. It could be like 70 today, then be like 40 tomorrow. You'd be like putting the heat on. I gotta put my hoodie up, you know.
Yep. Next thing you know, you're in a tank top, like literally getting burnt.
No, I know, right? Right. So tell me, how did you initially get involved in the fitness industry? I know we grew up in the same town, and I seen a little bit about, but like, what gave you the most interest as a kid, especially growing up?
Sure. So always involved in sports as a youth, very active kids, my brother and I growing up. So parents obviously wanted to get us involved in something that was active, so T-ball, soccer was kind of that first, introduction to sports, as a 3, 4, 5-year-old youth student athlete. So started there. And then, just every season we had a sport we had to do, whether it was baseball in the spring, then summers, obviously there was camps, clinics, things of that sort. Then in the fall, we were doing football. And in the winter, we were doing basketball. So that was our regimen throughout our whole life from, first grade all the way through high school. Pretty much played 3 sports all the way through
Mm.
for a good 12, 13 years. So then from there, played some college basketball and was always interested in sports. went to school for education to start, was a PE teacher in elementary school for a couple of years, then went right into social work here in Connecticut, and did that for a while still, being involved in playing, like you said, doing some minor league sports, playing football, basketball. And then when that ended and decided to, start a family and settle down in my 30s, we started to look at, all right, how can we create avenues for athletes that kind of were in the same situation as us in that semi-pro, but wanted to get better and possibly get seen to be able to go and play and get paid to play their sport. So we
Awesome.
created Top Ballers. Top Ballers was a company my brother and I created to, like I said, be able to help athletes that for whatever reason graduated college and were kind of in between college and pro and just wanted to be able to continue playing, but also pursue to get paid to play their sport. So we did Top Ballers. So we worked with athletes of the older ages, adults. And so at that point, working with athletes and being athletes, we then wanted to make sure that we help them to be able to be the best in regards to performance. So we had to get, a better understanding of nutrition, exercise, sports performance, all of that outside of the sport. So we wanted to be able to create a way that athletes can really maximize their genetic potential and get the best out of their body. So nutrition was a big piece, working out obviously in the gym, getting on programs, strength and conditioning, and performance-based training. So that's kind of how it all evolved into, getting educated in the sports nutrition as well as the performance piece.
That's awesome. I love that how you guys, you and your brother, shout out to Aaron Hairston, how you and your brother just really evolved into this idea of having the Top Ballers. And I remember that, man. I remember you had everybody and their mama coming out and trying out, man. Like
We
that was
did.
bananas. I mean, I wasn't involved, around that process, but I heard a lot of like who came out, and there were some people that were professional athletes that actually came out to see what y'all was doing. And that's huge, and you got that opportunity to travel around the country and go through that. Tell me a little bit about you about Trevor Hairston, the athlete. I know that there was a point where you were playing as an athlete semi-pro ball and you ended up getting hurt. And I saw dude, like you were like, let me tell you, you are an amazing human. Like for you to go from being basically a cripple to a high level athlete, getting back to being a high level athlete, in the as in the physique bodybuilding world, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Tell us a little bit about that process, like from you getting hurt to like and building yourself back up.
Sure. So I'll start after high school. So after high school, like I said, I played some college basketball, came back home, wanted to start my career. And my brother, Aaron Hairston, was playing semi-pro football. Again, he was trying to get to the pros. So it was kind of a stepping stone for him to go to arena and then to the NFL. So he had asked, hey, listen, like you're not doing nothing, you're still young and active. Come out here and play some football. So we were playing football, playing quarterback, a little bit of receiver, but mostly quarterback. And unfortunately, after about 3 or 4 years of playing, I ended up getting injured, tore my ACL and meniscus in my knee.
Wow, I didn't know
I came back, right? It's about 6 months later, had the brace on, came back playing. But along the process of getting back on the field, and then probably about a year, I ended up injuring my back where I had two herniated discs, L5S1, severe sciatica. So between running with a brace on, I kind of, again, not knowing what I didn't know then, I had some instabilities in my hips. So my hips were off a little bit. So that caused some instability there and some overcompensation on one side. So now I got, stronger muscles on one side than the other. So kind of my hips were on an angle, but I was, continue running. So it kind of threw me over the edge there. I ended up getting landed on. Somebody blitzed me from the back. I'm running. I'm going to throw a pass. I got blitzed from the backside, so I got hit. Big linebacker landed on me with my knee in the ground, so he kind of landed on my hips. And I really, damaged some discs there and in my hip, going up into my back. And like I said, severe sciatica for a good year or two. Obviously, I was sidelined.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor told me pretty much I had two options after about a year of getting cortisone shots and taking ibuprofen and doing all that. I had two options: either have surgery or kind of deal with the pain. And I, at that point, had to do some research on my own. And this was alongside the same time of me trying to understand about nutrition, sports performance, all that. Being an athlete, right? You kind of, when you're younger, you don't have anybody guiding you. You just kind of
No, you don't.
You did what you did. You had your Gatorade or whatever, for, hydration and stuff like that. But you never, not never, but most athletes, in their 80s, in the 80s and the 90s, like there wasn't a big push in understanding how nutrition worked and sports performance and, eating for performance and recovery and all of that, which is you ate what you ate, you went out there, you performed, you slept, you got back up and did it again.
Got that Big Mac. Got that Big Mac at the end of the game. You was good.
Yeah, whatever. We gonna do the drive-through at the end of the game. There was no, oh, we got to get some protein and make sure we're getting a nice balanced meal. And the science behind nutrition now is way different. 30 years later than it was then. So at that point, I was really researching and trying to understand. All right, how can I naturally get my body back into balance to be able to heal itself so that I don't have to have surgery. At that point, I found a nutrition company, and the science behind it really intrigued me because it was intermittent fasting. And at that point, I was just like, I didn't really understand that. I was like, not eating, like that doesn't make any sense. But I kind of did some research and found that, when you give your body a break from digestion, it goes into helping the body regenerate, right? Regenerate healthy cells. And when you regenerate healthy cells, now things, right, start to get back to balance, right? In your body, get homeostasis, right? Your body wants to get back to that natural state. But you got to fast. You have to give your break a body from digestion to be able to do that. So got a pretty good understanding of how that was working, and then kind of put myself through that trial and error of being able to give my body everything it needed to repair itself and, give it a break from digestion, and, lost some weight along the way, but I lost a lot of inflammation. And with inflammation, right, there's pain. So when you lose the inflammation, you lose the pain. And then from there, that discomfort I had was very mild. And like you said, I started to feel good, all right, I can get back in the gym, I can start working out, and slowly got back into that and started feeling good. And how I got introduced to bodybuilding and competitions and stuff like that was my brother and I actually got challenged, or like, hey,
I remember that.
Like you're in pretty good shape, you got an athletic build, maybe you should do some bodybuilding. And we're like, yeah, nah. We ain't doing that bodybuilding stuff. We're out there with little shorts on and no clothes, half naked out there flexing. That's not us. We like to perform. Put a ball in our hand and we out there scoring.
Right.
So we did that. That was an awesome journey. And like you said, going from the couch, being 25, 30 pounds overweight, from the couch being injured to stepping on stage, being in, the best shape of my life and winning and becoming a pro men's physique competitor and winning, on a stage with people that have been training just for competitions and bodybuilding for years. It never occurred to me that was something I would go into, but to be able to be blessed to do that was absolutely amazing. So again, like you said, how do I get from playing sports, being a youth athlete and a college athlete, to now being a trainer and nutritionist and teaching people how their body works? It's kind of how it kind of was. Sports led to a group of people right? Who adults who needed access to information to be able to perform at their best. Obviously, nutrition and sports performance and exercise was a big piece of that. So then we had to educate that, and then obviously being able to be someone who needed it myself, right? To do that research and understanding and get all the certifications and get the information to be able to share with others, and obviously going through that process myself. So kind of the evolution from 25 years old to 35 years old, that 10-year span was kind of a that transition period of getting into the health and nutrition and fitness and performance side of things.
That's awesome, man. Dude, I love the picture where you're standing with those other dudes and you just swole, dude. Like you guys are just like you guys are so swole, like your lats are coming out like this. They probably can't eat so big, like dude, like animal, dude. Like, and it's so funny, because if it wasn't for you or your brother, I would have never gotten into bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
I would have literally never gotten into bodybuilding. I remember the first show I did was 30 when I was 38, and Aaron challenged me, and then I ignored him for like 6 weeks, dude. He kept calling me. He wouldn't let it go, man.
You got this. You got this. We're going to do this.
So, long story short, I did my first one. It was for fun. It was a good learning experience. I did my second one. You ran that show, and it was decent. But my third one, bro, I don't even know who that dude was on stage, bro. Like, that was another person.
Without the water.
That was another person. So tell us a little bit. Tell the audience a little bit like about Hairston Family Fitness. I know you specialize now in youth development, and I know we had a conversation a while back about, you were like doing this thing, that thing, this thing. Now you really just niched it down. Like, what made you niche down to just focusing mostly on youth development and athletes?
So starting off, like I was telling you guys, I started off with adult athletes, right? And that was fun. It was rewarding. It was educational. It helped me to understand, kind of like the end goal, right? So I kind of have worked backwards. So I started off with, all right, here's an elite athlete at the peak of performance at, a full grown adult athlete, 22 to 25 to, 26 years old, fully going, full steam, fully built out. And started there. And then we had kids, so honestly, having children now, gave us a little bit more perspective in like, all right, like we did the adult thing. Now let's go ahead and see how this is going to work with our own children, right? How can we now, peel back all those layers of these adults that we have at performing at a high level to now saying, all right, now we got a brand new one who knows nothing. What do we need to do to take this child from 3 to 5 years old to 25 years old and be able to maximize their genetics all the way through, maximize all of their conditioning, their muscle conditioning, their muscle building, all their connective tissues? Like, how do we help them get from being brand new, not even knowing how to walk, right, to be able to running a 4.4440 at an NFL combine? How can we do that? So that's kind of where I transitioned when my older son was probably around 10, 11. Completely transitioned over. I mean, he'll be 16, which is crazy, in a couple weeks, May 5th. My baby. And so yeah, so about 5, 6 years ago, I really transitioned over into the youth side of things. So for a while, I was doing kind of both, and I transitioned. The reason why, but what made me really make the big jump into saying, I'm not doing adults anymore, in person, was COVID, honestly.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
in 2020, right, 2020, 2021, when we went straight virtual, we had to kind of go virtual. We didn't have a choice. There was a need. There was a huge need when I was kind of doing both. And then, I got a big push from parents to say, listen, my kids are at home. what can we do from home, right? We can barely get outside. There's no sports going on. There's no gyms open. There's nowhere for my kid to run around and play. So we, created an online Zoom training, weekly training, where I was training kids online through Zoom, just like this. And then I saw that, that was just a great way for me to give back to the youth and to the community. And my background was in education, elementary education and social work. So I'd already had that amazing background in working with kids. And so now I just took what I knew from working with kids on a intellectual and emotional level to now taking my sports and combining it, my sports and nutrition, and combining it. And now I just do youth and I work with kids, athletes. It's called Youth Athlete Development Academy. And it's not just about, just about the athletic parts. It's about development, right? We have a whole academy from teaching them not only how to run fast, jump high, and do all that stuff and shoot a basketball. It's about how do we mentally be able to handle the sports side of things, handle the coaching, handle the teammates, handle the criticism, handle your social media, all of that stuff, right? The mental aspects of the sport, as well as the emotional, as well as the physical. So we kind of put all that together, right? And we're helping these student athletes understand also, you got to be a student first, because at the end of the day, you can be as athletic all you want, right? But if you don't have the grades, none of that's going to matter. So it's much different nowadays than 30, 40 years ago, where
Oh, much
some high
different.
schools were pushing kids along because they were good.
Yeah,
Now
be
they don't
illiterate.
have to. Yeah, they're illiterate right now. They're like, you know what, these kids, what's different from these kids? All right, they're great in athletics, but now we'll take a student over an athlete all day long. So that's kind of where I transitioned. Was probably around 2020, 2021, where I transitioned to just doing youth. And it's a gift, that God has given me to be able to connect with the kids. And I get really good feedback from them. They listen, right? They follow directions. They like my approach, and I get results. So it's good.
Yeah, I really like how you talked about the psychology of the sport, right? Like, I think when we were growing up, there really wasn't that. It was like you'd be like, Coach, I'm thirsty. You got to earn your water. It'd be in the middle of in middle of August, right? But it's the psychology, right? Because it's the psychology of dealing with the coaches, other players, now social media, and crazy enough, so and I work, as you know, I work for a professional female basketball team. They have a sports psychologist
Yep.
on team. Like that's actually new.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of new, right? Like someone that they can talk to about the issues that you're talking about, and it's cool that you're as a coach that you're actually addressing those things now so they're prepared to deal with that the conflicts and controversies of being an athlete. It's not because it's not always just about them just showing up and performing. They have to deal with the dynamics around them that are happening, so I,
Absolutely.
I I think that's cool. I didn't know that that's something you focused on, so that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
um we're gonna start wrapping things up here. Tell me a little bit more. What kind of goals that you're shooting or looking forward to achieve? Um, this is the last question of the day that you're looking to achieve for 2025 for the rest of the year or coming into the summer. What are some of the things that you're truly focused on in your business and growth?
Absolutely. So through these years of working with athletes and working with just the general public, accountability has been huge when your client or your athlete is not with you, right? So how do we as professionals help to keep our clients and athletes accountable when they're not with us? That's what I've been really focused on. So over the past few months, I've created a hybrid program. So with my hybrid program, I have I have in person. So for instance, say I have a basketball athlete, middle school, 7th grade, and he comes to me twice a week. We do drill, skills, strength conditioning, all that stuff for basketball, right? It's very specific to his needs, his position, and we're learning and doing that in person. But he's away from me for the other 5 days, right? As well as the same days he's only with me for 2 hours a week, right? So he has all these other hours that he's away from me. He may be with his team, doing tournaments, he may be at games, he may be at practices, all that good stuff, which is great. So now how do I take what I have taught him this week for him to go home now and have homework to be able to do those things? So I've been working and building out my app. I've been had an app for a few years now, Hairston Family Fitness in your app store, Google Play, as well as the iPhone app store, Apple app store. You can go down there and download. But I put together a hybrid program to help my athletes to be able to further their progression and make it faster, more efficient, and for the things that I'm teaching them, for it to stick, so that we're not starting over every single week because it's been a week since we did that drill. He's able to take some of the drills that we did and do them at home, or they're a little bit different, or there's something that builds upon what we did, so that when they come back into the gym in person with me now, they're taking what we did last week and really going 1 or 2 steps above, versus us having to start over every single week. And then maybe by the time middle or end of that hour, we're adding something new. Now, instead of that happening like it usually does, now we're starting at the end, right? And then now we're introducing something completely new, and then they're moving things through a lot faster. So I'm finding, I have about 3 or 4 athletes right now on the current program that I have designed, and I'm seeing like huge exponential growth compared to those that are not on it. So I'm kind of going through that trial period now, and getting some testimonies and getting, all of that together. So then when we go to the official launch of getting that out there and really pushing it out there, that we have some real raw data to back up, what we put in place for them to do.
That's awesome. And accountability is huge. I have a doctor that I'm doing personal training. I think he only sees me once a week, but I did a program for him to train the other days of the week. He ain't doing it,
Right.
So and there's I don't have a tracking system. My only tracking system is when I see him and say, "Did you do the workouts I gave you?"
Right.
And he's like, "No." So so that's awesome that you have that, because then now, that concept, big brother's watching, right? You have the whole concept where people look, you get to see what they're doing, if they're tracking.
Yep.
And then when they come to you, then that you have some actual data that they're actually doing it, versus you
Yep.
being your brain being on the universe and not knowing if they do it. And then when you see them, you're like, "Hey, did you do it?" And they're like, "No, we didn't do it." And they come up
Right.
with every excuse in the world that they didn't do it. So that's awesome, man. I've always I always admired and looked up to you. I know you're younger than me, but you're like my big brother too, man. Like I always looked up to you, and you always grinding. You and your brother, man. You always had you always try to level up in the things that you're doing.
Mhm.
How do people, if people want to get in touch with you or contact you, how would they do that?
Yeah, first off, you can download my app. It's a free app. Once you get in there and you set up your account, just an email, password. Once you get in there, you can contact me straight through there. You can also find me on all social media platforms at Trevor Hairston, TrevorHairston. Any platforms, all of the social media platforms. I mean, you can just put it in Google. I'll pop up. So that's probably the easiest way. It's through social media or through my app. So just go in the app store. Again, it's a free app. Go in there. There's some free resources in there, workout, tracking nutrition, all that good stuff, as well as, check out the programs that we offer.
Yeah, I can attest it's a great app because I'm on it. So I can attest to that. So any final thoughts or words before we close out?
Oh no, not really. Just thank you to the Mobility Bros for having me on the show, and I hope that anything that I shared today was helpful for you. If you have any questions, definitely reach out. Reach out to myself. Reach out to Ron, and we're here to help.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. I know it's kind of funny. People don't have websites anymore. They just go to social media. So, all right,
Yeah.
everyone. I want you to stay awesome, keep setting grace, be legendary, and see you next time on Mobility Bros. Take care for now.
Guys, take care. Thanks.